Okay, let's dive into a word that you hear thrown around all the time when you're planning for retirement. Annuity. For some people, that word means safety, security. For others, it's just confusing. But really, at its heart, an annuity promises to solve one of the biggest fears we all have about retirement by creating a paycheck you can't outlive. So, what's the catch? Let's break it all down. But first, to really get why annuities are even a thing, we have to talk about the one single financial worry that probably keeps more future retirees up at night than any other. Just think about it for a second. What would you say it is? Is it a sudden stock market crash? Or maybe huge, unexpected medical bills? And yeah, those are massive worries, for sure. But there's one fear that kind of sits underneath all of them.
And there it is, longevity risk. It's the simple and honestly terrifying idea that your money runs out before you do. This single fear is the entire reason annuities were invented in the first place. Okay, so we've got the problem, the fear of your money running out. So now let's look at the solution that gets proposed, the annuity. What in the world is it exactly?
At its most basic level, it's really that simple. It's a deal. You give an insurance company a chunk of your money, either all at once or over time, and they promise to pay you back a steady income. You're basically swapping a pile of cash for a predictable, reliable paycheck.
And this whole idea probably isn't as new to you as it might sound. If you understand how Social Security works, or maybe an old-school company pension, well then you already get the basic concept of an annuity. It's all about getting that guaranteed income, often for the rest of your life.
So how does this deal with the insurance company actually turn into money in your pocket? Well, it really helps to think about the life of an annuity as having two very distinct phases. It all boils down to two stages, a time for saving and a time for spending. First, you build the money up, and then you start taking it back out as income. Let's take a closer look at that first part. So first up is what's called the accumulation phase. This is your saving and growing period. You put money into the annuity, it grows, and here's a really key benefit. That growth is tax deferred. That means you won't owe any taxes on the earnings until you actually start taking the money out, maybe years and years down the road. And then comes the part everyone's been waiting for, the payout phase. This is sometimes called annuitization. This is when you flip the switch and that insurance company starts sending you the checks. This is where the promise of the annuity comes to life, that steady, reliable income stream you were looking for in retirement. But here's the thing, annuity isn't just one single product. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. They actually come in a few different flavors, and the one you pick can dramatically change how your money works for you. The first big choice you have to make is all about timing. So the first decision is, when do you need the income? Now or later? An immediate annuity is exactly what it sounds like. You hand over a lump sum, say from a 401k rollover, and you want those payments to start right away, or pretty close to it. A deferred annuity, on the other hand, is for when you're planning ahead. You let your money sit and grow for years before you decide to turn on that income spig. All right, the next big choice is all about your comfort level with risk, and your options really fall into three main buckets. If you want pure, rock-solid predictability, a fixed annuity gives you a guaranteed interest rate, kind of like a certificate of deposit. If you're okay with more risk for the chance at higher returns, a variable annuity actually invests your money in the market, meaning your payments could go up or down. And then, somewhere in the middle, you have an indexed annuity, which ties your returns to a market index, like the S&P 500, but often with some downside protection built in. So, we've covered the what and the how, but honestly, the most important part is the why, or maybe the why not. Annuities involve a really big trade-off, and it is absolutely crucial to understand both sides of that deal. And this really brings us to the core trade-off of any annuity. On one hand, the benefit is powerful, a guaranteed income that can solve that fear of outliving your savings. But the drawbacks, they're significant. You're giving up access to your cash, often for many years. Plus, these products can be pretty complex and often come with high fees. This whole issue of not being able to get to your money is so important it has its own name, the surrender period. This means if you need to pull your money out early during that period, you're going to get hit with a steep penalty. We're talking fees that can start at 10% or even more. So let's be clear, this is not a place to park your emergency fund. And because of all this complexity, the fees, the taxes, the long-term commitment, the big takeaway here is vital. Annuities are not a do-it-yourself kind of financial product.
The rules are complicated enough that you really need professional guidance before you even think about signing a contract.
So, let's just boil it all down. What have we learned? An annuity is a contract. It's a deal you make with an insurance company to create a paycheck for your future self. Its number one job, its whole reason for being, is to make sure you don't outlive your money. And the catch? The trade-off? You're swapping the flexibility and control of your money in exchange for that lifelong security.
And that really leaves us with the one question you have to ask yourself. Is that peace of mind, the kind that comes from a guaranteed paycheck for life, is it worth the high fees and giving up control of your money? For some people, the answer is a definite yes. For others, it's a hard no. There's no single right answer for everyone, but understanding that trade-off, that's the first and most important step.